Hates You.
Hello, and welcome to Everyone Hates You, a podcast with me, Michelle Shaughnessy, where we talk about failures and rejections. Today, I have a guest who failed in arriving on time. It's Eshaan Akbar.
Hi.
Yay.
Yes, I did fail. I wanted to keep in tune with the podcast, which is why I thought I'd start with a failure.
Yeah,
It's actually quite
I'll
meta.
allow it.
Thank you.
I'll allow it. And you know what?
Clever.
I understand how messed up the trains are in this country, so I'm not going to fault you for that one.
I mean, if we want to talk about failures and rejections, we can talk about the failure of the British rail system, but I don't think that's what this is
I don't
about.
think I've been in this country long enough to criticize.
Oh, I have. I feel like we've given all our trains to India, and then we complain that our trains are shit.
Is that what happened?
Basically, the big thing about colonialism, they say, I don't know why we got into colonialism so quickly, but it's basically they're very quick to say, yeah, but we gave India the trains, and now all the trains here are dog shit.
Okay.
So it's like, we'll bring the trains back. That's my philosophy. That's my policy.
Do you think if they brought the trains back, you'd be on time for things?
See, one of my big failures in life is my inability to be on time for anything.
Are you one of those people that's just not on time?
I am on time just.
Okay.
Usually. By the skin of my teeth, I get there because I think life is more enjoyable when you've got that pressure.
Oh, I hate that pressure.
I love it.
I hate
I
it.
thrive off it.
I do when it comes to deadlines.
Oh, yeah, me too.
But when it comes to being on time, like I'm generally the first comic at every gig because I'm so paranoid about being late.
Being late, yeah.
And when I started comedy at Yuck Yucks Toronto back in the day,
Yep.
maybe we could talk about your visit to Yuck Yucks when you visited Canada.
Yeah.
If you weren't there half an hour before the show, they would just replace you because there was a million comics
We're
waiting
just
around.
waiting to, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I have that ingrained in me where like I have to be there.
Yeah.
And
Whereas
it's just more chill here.
I've done the opposite where I've driven to the gig, left my car running to get the promoter to park it while I go on stage.
Oh, you're one of those.
Yeah, I love it. It's
I wish
so
I had
rock
that
and roll.
confidence.
It's so rock and roll.
That's very rock and roll.
I love doing that shit.
So you're doing very well these days. You're
Am I?
absolutely killing it. I think so.
Thank you.
I think so. I mean, you've been opening for fabulous people.
Yeah.
And that's been really cool to see on your socials.
Yeah.
And we can get to that eventually. But the one feedback that I've been getting from this podcast is that people want failures. They want rejections. They want to hear the nitty gritty of it.
Yeah. All the bad stuff.
Yeah.
The thing is, you don't get to 39 years, as I am, without having failures and rejections
You don't.
in life. It's
You
just,
don't. But some people just don't want to talk about it. And that, I don't understand why, because I find a lot of my comedy comes from failures and rejections because it gives me that spark to be like, oh my God, I suck. I'm going to prove that I don't suck,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I'll
yeah.
write funny jokes about it. You
But
know?
also, I mean, I don't know if you've been interviewing expressly comedians or artists, but actually for an audience, it's not interesting if you are constantly successful. So
No.
as a comedian, I think it's incumbent on us to be able to share our failures. That's very important.
I think so too. And I think most of the guests have been, comedians, which I'm trying to change. Hey, if you're watching this and you're not a comedian and you have failures and rejections and you want to come on the pod, send me a message. Maybe I'll just have like a random stranger on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe you work at Sainsbury's and you failed to get a promotion. Let's chat about it.
Let's do that. But also, if you're a comedian, have some fucking stories.
Right?
Like, you're a comedian, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
Don't be like, oh no, I've had no... For a start, you're a comedian. Something failed.
I know. And some of these comics that are like, oh, well, I don't know what I would talk about. I just
Name
want
names.
to be like,
Name
do you want me to talk about your failures and rejections? 'Cause I can write a list of that,
Let me tell you about this. Yeah.
Yeah. So when we're talking about failures and rejections, how long have you been in the business for?
9 years I
9
started,
years.
and I went full-time about 5 years ago.
And when you first started, did you feel like it was kind of what you were supposed to do? Like, did you have that moment where you're like, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do?
Not when I first started. It took about a year. When I started doing comedy, I had no ambitions to become a comedian. because
What did you have ambitions to be?
A diplomat.
Really?
When I was a kid, I was 6 years old in primary school, and the teacher asked us, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And people said plumber, and like plumber, police officer, fireman. They came to me, and I said ambassador
Okay.
because I was such a twat.
No, I like that. My very best friend in the world, both her parents are diplomats. So
Amazing.
she's grew up in that. Everyone in her family is diplomat except for her.
Amazing. What
So-
did she do?
Okay, well, I met her when she was a comedian.
Right.
And then she was like, I can't handle this life. Like,
Yeah.
I can't handle the instability. So now she works for the government in Ottawa, but not as a diplomat.
So I before I became a comedian, I was a banker, I was a government policy advisor. I did all these very serious jobs. When I lost my job in banking during the financial crisis, which I guess was a failure of sorts, but wasn't my own failure, it was a global economic crisis.
Okay.
I can't be held responsible for my role in that.
Well, we'll let the viewers decide that.
Which was giving mortgages to rich people on LIBOR rates. Anyway, we'll talk about that another time. And then what happened was I decided to do a master's in public policy and try and reclaim my ambition to become a diplomat. Started doing comedy just as a side hobby.
Oh, God, you're one of those.
And I was like, oh, I quite like this. And then a year later, I got the bug. I was like, oh, I love this.
What gave you the bug?
And I had a gig. This was a gig in like Shoreditch, a small gig, 30 odd people. And what had happened is I'd forgotten my set, but I was spitballing so funnily. I was like, oh my God, I can just do this now. And at that point, I really enjoyed being able to do that. So I thought, right, let me just give this a go. And then since then, it's kind of gone all right for me.
Yeah, it has gone all right for you.
Gone all right.
Not bad for somebody who just looked at it as like a side hobby.
Yeah, it's a side hustle. It's going all right. My side hustle's going all right, which is not the tone of the podcast.
So when you worked in banking and finance and stuff, I guess the bar was a little higher to have failures and rejections in the sense that if you messed up something, like you're messing up a lot of money for people.
Yeah,
rich people do not like to have their money.
I lost £2.5 million in one day.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
I lost 2.5. Basically, when I started in banking, there was a period, I was on a training program, and you would spend a few months at different departments. And one of the departments I was in was trading. So they put me on the trading desk. Now, my disposition does not lend itself to trading because I'm quite a fun dude. I'm quite easygoing, and I don't really care about money that much. Like, it's not a defining feature of my existence.
Okay.
So I was around these traders who were fucking creaming at the thought of making money every morning, 6 a.m. they're up. And I'm like, fuck, I don't really want to do this. Anyway, they put me on this trading desk. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. By the end of the day, I'd lost £2.5 million. I was like, shit, it's not my money, but it's a lot of money.
It's almost worse when it's not your money.
Is it?
No, not if it's that amount, actually.
Yeah.
But if you lost 20 pounds of someone else's money,
Yeah, then you feel bad about it.
then you feel really bad.
That's
But 2 million, you're probably like, oh, thank God this isn't my money.
Yeah, exactly. Like exactly at that point. So I didn't know what I'd played some trades, and I hadn't done my research, and those particular stocks absolutely tanked that day, and people knew those stocks were going to tank some weeks before. It's really boring. This is why I left the industry. Who gives a fuck? Anyway, so I lost that money, and at that point I was like, I don't think I'm cut out for this job.
Okay.
Because my reaction was, it's not great, but like, who gives a shit?
That's really funny. That's not somebody I want in charge of my money, but
Right, exactly.
that's really
and then
funny.
my boss was screaming. He says, what the fuck are you doing? Because this was alpha banking days.
Mm-hmm.
There was a cup thrown at the wall. And the angrier someone gets, the funnier I find it.
I laugh.
Right.
And it's so hard for me not to laugh when I'm getting reprimanded for something.
Right.
But it's nerves.
So when he threw this coffee at the wall, I went, and he went, this is fucking serious, man. He was like an American guy. I said, fucking serious. I'm like, I'll make it up tomorrow, right? And he goes, how? For some reason, my brain just went, Japan. Like, I want to put some investments in Japan or something. I don't fucking know. Anyway, I came with Asia market open. I tried to put some trades. It took me a day and a half to make up the loss.
Okay.
So I made up the loss. We were up 750,000. That's not bad, is it? It's like $750,000.
That's pretty good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then after I made the money, they said, we think you should go to a different department. And the department they sent me to, believe it or not, was dealing with complaints that were being sent to the chairman and CEO. And it was old women going to the branches of the bank going, I couldn't cash out my check. I thought you looked after your customers. And I'd have to write a letter on behalf of the chairman going, Dear Dorothy, I am so sorry that you experienced this problem. It was a real shift of power and status.
That's crazy. Like, it's like you went from like having responsibility to just be like, we don't know where to put this kid. Let's put him like we're here where it doesn't matter if Dorothy loses her checking account.
And then eventually I got headhunted into a proper job.
Okay.
But yeah, that was probably my first big. No, that's a lie. That wasn't my first big work failure. My first big work failure was I helped. What's his name? Do Do you know Lloyd Grossman?
No.
Lloyd Grossman was quite famous in the 80s and 90s, particularly the 90s, on a show called Through the Keyhole, where he would go around to celebrities' houses and you had to guess which celebrity lived in that house.
Interesting.
And he was a very erudite, bespectacled Jewish man who had this beautiful, weird manner of speaking that was quite nasal. And his famous phrase was, "Who lived in a house like this?" Right, that's what he'd say. Who lives in a house like this? Anyway, I lose a lot of money for people. I somehow was one of the cashiers in the branch that ended up losing £15,000 of his money.
How do you lose £15,000 as a cashier?
Because some guy came in who was known to our staff members, who was basically taking money out of his account. Mm-hmm. But because the other guys knew him, I was like, well, that was his form of identification. Mm-hmm. He just withdrew like £2,000. And then that was like, he did that 6 times. And then he took $3,000 out another time. And I was the cashier that did it every time.
So whose money was he taking out?
He was taking about $2-3 out at a time.
But whose money?
Lloyd Grossman's money.
But it wasn't Lloyd Grossman.
It wasn't Lloyd Grossman.
So it was just a man that said, "I'm Lloyd Grossman."
No, it was a man who was taking money out of one of Lloyd Grossman's, like, I guess, sundry accounts.
Did he work for Lloyd Grossman?
He said he did.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
okay.
He said he did, and the people knew him. So sometimes when you had to take cash out, you had to provide 2 forms of identification or someone, a senior person.
So you're like, they know him, it's fine.
Yeah.
So it's kind of their fault too, a little bit.
Yeah, of course it is. But then my boss fucking hated me, so she fucking took me into a bloody meeting. And she was like, oh, basically she was salty because her daughter didn't get into school that I got into.
No, I think she was salty because you lost a bunch of Lloyd Grossman's money. That's probably the main cause.
She was salty because that's why she took me into the office and gave me disciplinary.
And there's no reprimand for that. Like, you didn't have to, like...
I got disciplinary. And they were like, oh, if you
But you didn't get fired?
No.
That's crazy. That's what's wrong with the banking world.
I was a junior. That was the senior guy. I was like, yeah, I know this guy.
Okay.
So I was like, yeah, okay, cool, here you go. And then Lloyd Grossman's company or whatever sent us a letter going, we've lost £15,000.
Have you ever met Lloyd Grossman?
No.
Do you think you would tell him the story if you ever did?
He watches the podcast.
No, he doesn't.
Lloyd, I'm so sorry.
We could get Lloyd Grossman on this pod.
Get Lloyd Grossman.
That would be amazing.
Maybe you need to bleep out the name. I don't know if you should keep the name in.
No, we're keeping it in.
Okay, fine. So yeah, who lives in a bank account like this?
Not him anymore.
Not him anymore, yeah. So yeah, so I've lost a lot of money for people.
Yeah, I was thinking at the beginning, I was like, wow, maybe I should give him £50 and see what he can turn it into.
No, now
I feel like I would just lose £50.
The thing with failures is you learn from them.
Well...
So I've learned to fully identify a person when they want to withdraw money from an account.
Well, that's not a skill you need anymore. You're
that's
working
true.
banking.
But I know that, like, it's good, useful information to know. You know, if I was to write a letter to my grandkids of things that you should live by. Okay. That's one of them.
I like that.
Identify a person with correct identification, 2 forms every time. And don't place trades on very weak equities. That would be lesson number 2.
Okay.
How to live a good life. Those are the 2 main things.
I got really into the stock market a couple of years ago.
You must be minted.
No, I was bad at it. Because when I didn't see results right away, which is not, you're supposed to like leave it there, long game.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Always. And I'm incapable of doing that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, this isn't working, I gotta pull it. Like, I don't have the patience for that.
You can't make a fast buck in this business.
Well, yeah, I know. But I keep feeling like, you hear those stories of people that do it, make a fast buck, like with GameStop, right?
Yeah.
You hear those stories, and I always think like maybe I could be that person. Maybe I could like make a quick buck, and I don't think my 500 Canadian dollars was going to get me very far.
You never know. In the 1970s, this old woman put £500 into a stock, and she forgot about it. And a few years later, she made quite a few hundreds of millions of pounds.
What was the stock?
Tesco.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
It was her last £500 from like some sort of pension payment or something.
Huh.
And she was like, "Oh, I've got lots of money from Tesco."
And how many years went by?
22.
Okay, see, that's the thing. I just can't let money sit for 22 years. Because in that time, I'm going to be like, you know what, I need Botox or something. I got to cash the stock out.
But imagine how amazing that Botox will be after 22 years.
I know.
And
it could be like a facelift. I could afford a facelift.
Yeah. You could. What is a facelift?
What do you mean? What is a facelift?
What is it? Like, is it just lifting up the
So
cheeks?
they like make cuts like behind your ear and like up here, and they literally just pull your whole face up, and then sew you back together.
Wow.
And then you look young and beautiful.
But you look young and beautiful anyway.
Get out of here. You're just trying to suck up to me.
I'm not. You do. You look young and beautiful.
Well, thank you. But
that's not
eventually I'll want a facelift. I don't need it now.
Do I need a facelift?
No, not at all. You might need a lesson in money management, but you do not need a facelift.
Thank you. That's right, ladies. I can't manage your money, but my face will be nice.
There you go. Speaking of ladies,
Yeah.
were you a dater when you were younger?
Oh my God, I was so good at dating. I lost my virginity at 21. I've never asked any person out except one person.
Really?
When I was 17 years old.
How did that go?
Badly.
Okay.
I was in love with her for a very long time. And see, my issue is I aim too high.
All men do.
Wow.
It's true. Brian, do you not agree? Show us a photo of your lady. I'll decide. All men aim high. That's why pretty women end up with ugly men, because the men that look like men that we're equally matched with are dating women that are way too hot for them.
Handsome men or men that look after themselves are very suspicious to me.
I agree. All men are very suspicious to me, though.
Yeah, all men. Not all. I don't want to say not all men because then I feel like a right-wing nut job. But anyway, so this woman, this is the level I went for. She ended up becoming president of the Oxford Union. Right? This is what we're talking about, right? So I had a crush on this woman for such a long time. She was the head girl.
Is this high school we're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
High school, beautiful. Absolutely adored her. I've got two concurrent stories. She was my one true love. So I went up to her at the sixth form leavers ball.
At the what?
Sixth form leavers ball. It was like our prom.
Okay.
And I walked up to her, and Avril Lavigne was playing.
What song?
Skater Boy.
Okay.
And I asked her if she wanted a flamenco. I asked her if she wanted to do the flamenco when I meant flamenco.
Okay.
Which is a dance.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't do the dance.
So what was your backup if she had said yes?
I would have tried to do something that resembled that dance.
You didn't think that far ahead, huh?
No,
Okay.
I thought I'd impress her by asking that. She said no. And I walked to the corner and sat on this round table that was designed for 15 people by myself.
In a tux?
Yeah.
I love that.
She came to a show of mine many, many years later, to be fair.
Like, did she know it was your show, or was she just like at a show?
No, she knew it was my show.
Okay.
Like, she'd seen somewhere that I was doing comedy and she saw it. And
Wow, this is like Skater Boy come to life.
And it is, but also,
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever found this, but then when I saw her again, I was like, oh, I don't know why I fancied you.
Interesting.
Do you not find that the people that you were attracted to in school, later you're like, well... Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely feel that a little bit. But I think it's hard when it's like your first love almost. But it sounds like she wasn't really your first love.
She wasn't really my
wanted her to
first.
be your first love.
Yeah, I wanted her to be. And because there were years I knew that she probably wasn't going to be, I'd just try at the sixth form leavers ball.
Okay.
Concurrently, there was this other girl that I was like, okay, you'll do.
Also at the ball? Like, was this the same night?
Same school. No, but this wasn't the same night.
Oh, okay.
But the story with her is, I guess, an even funnier rejection, actually. So I basically, my strategy with her was just, I wasn't even thinking it, but I was just like, I'm the nice guy. I'll help you with your homework.
You friend zone
carry
yourself.
you back. Yeah, I friend zone myself, big time, right? And, whenever she needed me, I was there. And my best friend at the time, I remember this was about a year and a half later, I said to him, he was the head boy. And I said to him, I'm going to ask this girl out tomorrow. First time I'm going to fucking ask this girl out. He goes, yeah, man, go for it. That night, Kate went home. I fell ill, couldn't come into school the next day. The following day, I walk into school, and he and another friend of ours says, mate, we need to talk to you. I said, okay, cool, what's up? So my best friend, he says, last week at Clemmy's party, I snogged this girl. Right? And I was like, okay, well, that happens. Shit happens, bruh. And he said, okay, well, yesterday I asked her out. And I was like, okay, well, I told you I was going to ask her out. What? And he goes, well, it's just, I just thought if you weren't in, I'd ask her out and see what happens. I said, okay, what did she say? And he said, well, she wanted to talk to you. So obviously she knew that I was kind of in love with her.
Mm-hmm.
So I went up to her and I said, what's the situation? And she said, well, I really fancy him. So I kind of want to go with him. I'm like, all right, yeah, okay, fine. They got together. They're now married with 3 children.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So that kind of worked out.
It kind of worked out for them.
The song by NSYNC, what was it again? Came out that time. 'Cause I want it all or nothing at all.
Was that NSYNC?
Was it? It was NSYNC, yeah.
I thought that was 90 Degrees.
No, it was.
Oh, I'm going to get in a lot of trouble for not knowing that.
Yeah, it was NSYNC.
Okay.
And I was singing that that came out that year. I was singing it so much. Just in my room. 'Cause I want it all. What a sad rejection that was. But good for her. I'm happy with them.
Have you had like girls
He's
from
now
your
like
past?
a senior banker at Goldman's. What?
He's what?
He's like a senior banker at Goldman's.
Loser. That's actually very attractive to me.
Oh yeah, I know it is.
Have you had like girls from your past that have rejected you and stuff? Like just show, you had that one girl come to a show, but if you had girls that didn't give you the time of day in high school, like see you like doing so well in your career now that they try to like kind of like sneak back into your life?
No.
That's really sad. I thought for sure you're going to be like, yeah. Yeah, they all do.
Not a single one. None of the girls found me attractive at school.
Oops. I was going to say with most comedians,
Not to me.
girls see them being comics and they're like, oh, wow, I like that guy
Yeah.
now. Not you. No.
Not
like,
Eshaan
no.
Akbar, baby. I was very much not appealing in high school.
But now, you'd think some of them would circle back now.
I think
Maybe they're divorced. Maybe they've had a few kids. Maybe they just want something, a little fun.
Listen, I'm one of those guys from high school where no matter how bad your life gets in future, you do not go there.
It's good to know your place.
Yeah, baby. But I'm doing okay now.
Do you get hit on after shows?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Don't worry.
That if you had said no to that, I'd be like, what is wrong with you?
I just want to reassure the public. I'll get pussy.
Don't say that. That doesn't suit you. You can't pull that off. Wow, this is taking a weird turn.
Listen, women like me.
I mean, I'm sure some do.
Wow, the some did a lot of heavy lifting there.
No, I think you're very charming. You're very funny.
Thank you.
If it wasn't for the fact that you'd lost a lot of money,
Yeah, but
I'd probably find you more attractive.
Thank you, but financially, I'm doing all right. I've got a house in London. That's not bad, is it?
No, that's pretty good, actually.
Thank you.
Wow. You're going to get so much pussy after this episode. Eric.
Yes, message me at Eshaan Akbar.
So when you got rejected by those 2 girls in a short amount of time, did it make you gun shy to ask women out again? Or have you always been, like, are you good at that?
No, so I am very comfortable around women.
Okay.
And I am...
But I got to say, you do put up a friend zone vibe, like, right away. And I don't know if you mean to do that or if
Really?
that's just, like, you're very kind and very friendly.
Yeah.
And in a way that made me feel, anyway, I mean, maybe you know, as I'm saying it now, maybe it's just my ego. And you were like, no, I just wanted to be your friend. I didn't.
No, I've been in
ever
love with you
pretend
since I met you.
Thank you.
Well.
But you definitely come off as like, oh, this guy's really nice.
Yeah.
He could be my friend.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is, I guess that's my disposition with everybody.
Okay.
Like, I just, get on with pretty much everyone.
Mm-hmm.
There's very few people I don't get on with. If I don't get on with you, just drop me a message, let me know.
Are there people in comedy you don't get on with?
I mean, you can't get on with everyone, can you? But on the whole, I think I pretty much get on with everyone. I don't
Yeah, nobody talks. I haven't heard people like talk shit about you behind your back, so that's good.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it is, because people talk shit about everybody.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just not interesting enough.
I don't think that's it. I think it's just you're really nice.
Yeah.
I think you're really nice. So even if you had a bad day where you were a bit of an asshole, people would be like, oh, he's just having a day.
Yeah,
you know?
Fine. So I think my disposition is one, whether you're a man or a woman, whatever, I will just get on with you.
Okay.
And I don't really, I'm very bad at reading signals when someone's attracted to me.
I find a lot of men are.
To the point where, there was, a few years ago, there was there was a woman, and I missed my stop, and she said, "Why don't you come to my place for a cup of tea?" And I was like, "Yeah, okay, cool." That actually
Wait. This wasn't just a random woman on the tube.
No. We'd been speaking for a little.
Okay, this makes more sense.
And she'd come to my place for a cup of tea. I said, "Yeah, fine." And then I went to her place, and she made a cup of tea. And then as I was drinking the tea, she kind of lay across my lap.
That's very forward.
Yeah, and I was like, "What? I mean, what's going on here?" And then she got upset, obviously, stood up, sat up, and she was like, "Eshaan, okay, I'm going to say this very clearly. You and I are going to go upstairs and have sex." And then I said, "But you just made tea."
We don't want the tea to get cold now, do we? I would have fucking flipped if a guy said that to me.
To her credit, said, "Okay, well, look, I want to go upstairs and freshen up. You finish your tea and come upstairs when you're done."
Okay.
I had some great sex that night.
So you finished the tea?
I finished the tea.
Oh,
yeah.
my God.
I'm British. I'm British Asian. Tea is very important.
Fair enough. Okay.
Both parts of my sensibility. So I finished the tea and had some lovely, nice sex.
Nice.
But yeah, I'm very bad at reading signals.
Okay.
That is a failure of mine. And I've had messages from people who have been very explicit in telling me, "By the way, I do, like, I've got a crush on you, or I like you, or whatever." And then I go, "Oh, okay. Nice."
And then you just kind of wait for more signals or wait for them to ask you out?
Yes. I can think of a handful of situations where I've instigated sex with someone.
Okay.
Even in a relationship. A handful of situations where I've instigated it, because I'm just like, I feel like for women, it's a lot more complicated having sex than it is for men.
Okay.
There are so many emotional and physical and hormonal things happening with women that just don't apply to men in the same way.
Mm-hmm.
That I would never want a woman to feel like they are compelled or obligated to have sex with me
Okay.
when I feel horny. So that's not failure or rejection, is it?
No, I mean, depending on how you look at it, it could be a failure. But I feel like... Just think about it. If you're in a relationship with a woman and you're never instigating sex, for me as a woman, I would think, oh, he doesn't want to be with me. Or maybe he doesn't find me attractive.
See, my way of instigating sex in a relationship is to say, if at any point you're up for it this week, I'd quite like some sex. It's like a WhatsApp message.
That is the least manliest
Sometimes
way to initiate sex ever.
I've done gifs of like, I type in a man having orgasm and I send
You
the
just
gif.
send the gif?
Yeah, and be like,
this me later?
this would be nice.
I think if a man sent that to me, I'd be like, we're done.
Really?
Yeah.
I think it's really charming.
No. I mean, not for me, but maybe
Is it not
some
for
women
you?
like it.
I've also sent birds and bees.
How old? I would be like, what is this kid, 17? Birds and bees. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Your brother and you are close in age, right?
We're 10 years apart.
10 years apart. I don't know why I always think, it's
Because he looks old as fuck.
but you also look younger. So I thought you were both somewhere in the middle.
No.
So there was never any like competitive stuff with girls and stuff with your brother then.
No, but it's weird because some of his friends have been forthcoming in their attraction to me.
Yeah, that must be weird for him.
Which is very...
Okay.
He doesn't know.
Oh. He does now.
He does now. Bro, there's a few of your friends that are...
Would you do it? Have you?
I plead the fifth.
Oh, I love that. I'm just causing so many problems for you with Lloyd and now with your brother. And
So that's my love stuff.
your love stuff.
Yeah.
I like that. I think sometimes because you maybe had those rejections early on, maybe that's why you are a nice guy to women, because it wasn't something that you took for granted.
I think there's a bit of that. I think there's also a bit of my late mother and her family all being women.
Okay.
All the women I've been surrounded by were fucking insane and strong and powerful and ambitious.
Mm-hmm.
And they never took any shit from anyone,
Okay.
especially not men.
I like that.
And so I've just had this template of like the men in my family therefore having to be normal, nice people, cooking, cleaning, taking on those what people might consider typically female roles. There's always been like a bit of a blurring of the lines between those things. And actually, that it's quite pertinent that we're talking about failure now, because sometimes I think feeling like a failure is wrong, but I feel like I've failed in what society expects a man to be.
Okay.
In the sense that my template for what a man is comes from my dad and a few of my uncles who have blurred the lines across all those typical gender roles in a way that to me seems normal. But then when I'm out there in the world, different men tell me that I've fallen short of what they expect a man to be.
But it's men telling you this, not women.
I don't think I've had it from women.
Exactly. Because I think that's such like a man thing to think. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I think women would appreciate that kind of stuff. But I do think we're in such a time right now with gender roles where nobody really knows like what we're supposed to be doing. You know, because I think back in the day it was just accepted. You find a man, he's a provider.
Yeah.
You keep the house clean and that's it. And now I find, just from talking to my friends who date a lot, there's so many men out there who are like, I want a good woman that will take care of the home, have kids, do all that, and pay half of everything. And it's like, okay,
yeah,
calm down.
Yeah, because I don't inherently know what it means to be a man.
I don't think anyone knows what it means to be a man or what it means to be a woman.
Yeah,
like we're all human, you know?
And I think also, maybe this is also partly because I'm the son of an immigrant, which is that my template for what I should be is relative to what my parents have been. And of course, their situation has been completely different to mine. So sometimes, and actually quite often, I feel like I've failed in terms of what I should be given the opportunities that I've been given relative to what my parents had.
Mm-hmm.
That's always quite an interesting thing for me to try and negotiate. I think I feel like a lot of children of immigrants perhaps feel that way. I don't know. I can't speak on behalf of everybody, but I know enough for me to make that kind of hypothetical extension that people tend to feel like, shit, maybe I should be doing more with what I've been given.
I think that's normal for everyone to feel, regardless of where their family came from. You know, I mean, I don't know. I didn't come from wealth or generational wealth or anything like that. So maybe people don't feel like that when they've had everything given to them. But I do think that's normal to kind of like look back on your life and be like, I don't think I've done enough with like the opportunities I have had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also because it's, you know, now that I do comedy, it's just so different from perhaps what people might expect of me to do. But then also like not being married, not having children, not having a family, not fulfilling those roles either as a partner, as a son, as a brother, whatever, as a friend. There are all these bits of me where quite often I feel like I'm not very good at those things. But then who is good at all those things simultaneously? I don't know. But I certainly know that I get a sense that me as a whole person across all those elements sometimes feels like I've fallen a bit short sometimes.
I understand that. I mean, it doesn't come off that way. Like, I don't think anyone looks at your life and is like, oh, wow, I can't believe he's not married with kids, you know? I think, obviously, that's an internal thing.
Yeah. Maybe. But the thing is, I think now my extended family have kind of given up on even asking me about it.
Yeah, it's weird, right? Because I think it's like in any family, with the age that we are in our generation, like the people ahead of us in our family, that was still just the thing that you did. You got married, you had kids. And I think when you don't have that and you're our age, it's almost like family looks at you like maybe there's something wrong with you a little bit.
Yeah.
You know?
Or you don't have your priorities right.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think sometimes, like, my priorities, I don't know if I've really set priorities for myself. I'm just trying to make sense of it and feel like I'm in a more stable place to do those things that a part of me does desire. You know, I'd love to be married and have children.
Okay.
At some point, I think I'd be a very good dad.
Yeah. I mean, the good news is you're a man. So you can do this in 20 years and it would still be acceptable and okay.
That is true. I could do that. But then I wouldn't be around long enough to be a good dad. Also, my dad's fucked me up by being such a good one.
Really?
Oh, it's fucking annoying.
You think that the bar's so high?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's irritating. It's irritating.
Irritating how good your dad is.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was a dad at 24 to me.
Right, okay.
And he's been, like I was talking about masculinity, every version of a man that I've been told that exists in old times all the way through to modern times, he has been that person.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as a 24-year-old, young, good-looking, handsome man, he was a leader of a gang. He used to beat up racists pretty much every weekend.
Really?
He used to lead a gang.
A gang that just went around and beat up racists.
Yeah.
That's really fucking cool.
Right?
Your dad sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, super cool.
Yeah.
He was the captain of a cricket team. They used to carry their bats with them. If they were international front people, he'd just beat the shit out of them. And there's a road in the east end of London where you go to certain shops, you ask for someone called Don. That would be my dad because that was his nickname. He was a fixer. So you called him and said, this guy's not paying my rent. He'd go and rough him up a bit.
Your dad sounds really hot, to be honest.
Yeah, he was a hot guy.
That sounds really cool.
He did all that. Then he became a paramedic.
Mm-hmm.
Kind, caring job. Almost got suspended in that job because a man put a knife to my dad's neck in a racist attack, and my dad broke his arm in 2 places.
Wow.
And then my mum died,
Mm-hmm.
and then he became the guy who cooks and cleans, and he'll call me to make sure that I've eaten, even though I'm 39 years old. Of course
That's
I have.
really sweet.
You know?
You're very fortunate to have such a good family life like that.
Yeah.
That's
so
really sweet.
he's shown me the spectrum of what it means to be a man.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at that and I go, man, the first time I got someone call me something racist, I wrote an article for The Guardian.
What?
It's not the same thing, is it?
No. What?
I was like, I'll get you.
What
How
did
dare you?
What did they say?
They called me a packy.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
And then I wrote an article in The Guardian and enraged.
So you're like, I could break their legs, or I could get on my computer and use my words. That's really funny. Sorry that you got called that.
Oh, I've been called that many times.
Okay.
I've written lots of articles.
Remind me to never piss you off. There'll be a whole article about me in The
I
Guardian.
will pen a very well-worded art, let me tell you.
So in terms of your career, I know I feel
Excuse me.
it's hard to say to comics, you're killing it right now, you're crushing it, because I think a lot of times, even when we're succeeding, it's still not where we want to be. So it's hard for us to look at our own, like, you know, career and be like, oh, it's actually going okay.
Yeah.
But from an outsider's perspective, I'm very proud of you.
Thank you.
It's easy to be proud of somebody when they're a nice person.
Yeah,
Because,
yeah.
you know, sometimes you see people and they're not nice to you and they get shit and you're like, fuck that guy.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
Not even that they don't deserve it, because I have the ability to like look at people and be like, I hate them, but
Yeah.
they're really funny and they're a good comedian, you know?
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people are really kind of happy with the trajectory that your career seems to be heading right now, because you are really nice to people. But
Thank you.
have there been failures and rejections in the entertainment business that kind of like affected you or shaped you in a way?
Yeah, a little bit. So there was this one, I think the one that stands out the most to me is I filmed Stand Up Central on Comedy Central. Rob Delaney Stand Up Central it was. And the filming was on the day of my mum's 5th death anniversary,
Okay.
16th of May 2019. So that felt kind of important to me because it was one of my first TV appearances. And I filmed it, and I did a big post about filming and the fact that it was on the day of my mum's death anniversary and the journey that I've been on since my mum died 5 years previously, all the sacrifices, blah, 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 blah. You know, an emotional, heartfelt post. And then I got cut. Right? So when it aired, it just didn't.
And did anyone tell you that you were cut?
No.
Or were you just watching it and being like, this is my moment, and you just weren't in it?
I just didn't hear anything.
Oh my God.
Right, I didn't hear anything, so I've done this whole public thing of like, oh my God, my mum died 5 years ago, and look at me, I'm recording on the day, it is so poetic.
That's so bullshit. I can't believe they cut you out.
Right, so they cut me. I had an absolute storm of a gig, but they cut me out for another Avalon act, and Avalon were the ones who'd made the show. Fine, whatever. So I had that. I was on the pilot for the MASH report.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy was like, fucking love you, absolutely amazing. We filmed a few scenes, and then the day it aired, I'm nowhere to be seen.
Hold on. Okay, so you filmed the pilot,
Yeah.
did some stuff,
Yeah.
and then you didn't know you weren't going to be in it.
No.
They didn't tell your agent didn't tell you, none of that happened.
Nothing.
That seems like something that somebody should have given you a heads up about.
Yeah, no, just I find out watching it. And then I'm emailing my
Were you like,
"Hey, can you
kept
find-"
waiting for yourself to come on the screen and waiting, and you were like, okay,
Had
like...
I arranged a party at the pub.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Oh my God. You must have been look like such a fucking loser.
Oh my God. I'm cringing thinking about it now.
I love that this has happened to you twice. Like, I feel like you keep having these big viewing parties. And you're like, it's coming up. It's coming up. And then the show just ends.
I only did the viewing party for this one. So, Mash Report comes out, and then this is the pub I go to regularly, and the pub landlord was like, mate, it's so sick, you're going to be on the Mash Report. Like, it's a brand new show. So he goes, I'll set up a room up upstairs. You, your mates, you're always here anyway. We'll all watch it together. We go upstairs. I'm hammered. And everyone sat there watching the show. And then the end credits come on.
Oh, no. So I guess your name wasn't even in the end credits.
No, it wasn't. My mate, the pub landlord goes, he's like, were you on this episode? I'm like, I don't know which episode I'm in.
What did you do after that happened?
I got absolutely shit-faced.
Okay.
My friends, they kind of didn't say anything. They were like, oh, did you know it was going to happen? I was like, if I knew it was going to happen, I wouldn't fucking have warned you.
Did you get messages from people that pretended they watched and they were like, you were so good at the MASH report last night?
I didn't, luckily. That would have set me over the edge.
Oh, you poor thing. That's awful.
Excuse me. But
So, did they give you any reasons after the fact? No, just didn't make it.
basically, the reason was they already had an Asian guy, they needed a black guy.
Really?
Yeah, basically.
That's fucked up.
That's what I think happened.
That's really fucked up.
But anyway, those two things happened, and it made me realise that actually it was good in the sense that you can't take anything for granted in this business. Even when, I filmed Sex Education, they cut 2 of my scenes, but I think that happens quite frequently.
A lot.
In
Yeah.
sitcoms
yeah.
and acting, it's just par for the course.
Yeah.
But it's what's difficult is they will say to me, Netflix would have said, as they did, if you're going to do a post, say that you're starring in the new season, and then you're in 3 or 4 scenes, you suddenly feel like a fraud saying I'm starring in whatever. But that's just the nature of the beast.
100%.
And also, to say it toughens you up is comedy hasn't necessarily toughened me up. I'd already been quite toughened because my mum died kind of a couple of months before I started. So my personality in comedy and my approach to it is I'm kind of unbothered. Even if audiences don't laugh, it doesn't really affect me. People will ask me, oh, what's been have you died at a gig? And usually I say no because I don't know. It doesn't, I'm just trying to have a nice time. And even if it goes badly, I'm having a fun time doing it. Having a bad time. It's fine, whatever to me. So when those things happen where I got cut from those, couple of scenes got cut or I got cut from those shows, it felt only slightly embarrassing because all my mates were there. But actually we had a good laugh about it, right? And you just kind of go, look, this is just the business I'm in. And brutal shit like that happens. And in every business, whatever that is, in my case, it was banking. You lose millions of pounds in a day. When I was in government policy, you give policy advice and you realise 5 years later, shit, that's really affected loads of old people without even realising it was going to do that.
Oh, interesting.
Or stuff like whatever it might be. There's shit in everyone's career that just catches you off guard, and this was their thing. And now I'm kind of a bit like, well, unless I see myself on screen or my agent says your TX date and time is this, I'm going to assume I filmed it, but it's not airing.
Did you have an agent at the time of the MASH report? And they weren't even given a heads up. That's kind of mean.
Yeah.
You think somebody would have called somebody and been like, just so you know,
Yeah.
didn't make the cut, but thanks, you did a great job.
Yeah. It didn't happen.
Do you still hold on to that a little bit? Really? Good for you.
No.
Okay.
Doesn't bother me at all.
All right.
Because life has a funny way of, whether it's karmic or whatever, I believe that life has a way of retribution, and the circle of life means that eventually people realise or something happens and you have the opportunity to prove yourself maybe a bit quietly. And I'm under no illusion that actually my career, touch wood, up to this point, has gone pretty brilliantly. I can't
It really has.
really ask for much more than the things that I've done in this business, and I hope to continue doing. I'm not, now it gives me more confidence to kind of be like, well, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. I can do other things, you know? So I've been very lucky in that sense that I don't really hold grudges about stuff like that.
I aspire to be like that.
What do you think? Why do you think you hold a grudge?
I think it's fun. I think it gives me something to do.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a good question. I feel like, because I don't know what else to do. So I feel like when I feel wronged and I hold that grudge, then it allows me to have fuel for maybe to work on something else. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah.
Like as opposed to I'm like, no, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, my thing is just get better, not even.
And then I look at other comics who are killing it and you realize, oh, they're not on TV and they have hundreds of thousands of followers and they tour. And I'm like, why am I waiting for somebody to give me that opportunity when I can make my own fan base, you know?
Absolutely.
So that's what I do like about living here, is that there is that opportunity to make your own fan base and do it a different way. And I just don't think that every country has that alternative route. And I like that.
And so that's one thing that I struggle with a bit, which is that I want to, you know, at the risk of sounding greedy, I want to be able to feel like I've built something of my own.
I like that.
As well. And I often struggle with this sense that on the internet, something about me doesn't connect. And I don't know what that is. And I think part of it comes from the fact that I was the poorest, brownest kid in a private school who is very connected to his cultural heritage. But all those elements, at some point or another, have rejected me. I'm not brown enough. I'm not white enough. I'm not rich enough. I'm not poor enough. I'm not, you know, once I was told by an audience member that I'm not fat enough to make fat jokes.
I've been told that.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're definitely not, but.
No, but this was when I was heavier.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So there's always been this sense, you know, I was a presenter on the BBC Asian Network for a year and a half. They brought a new Asian boss in who sacked me after 2 weeks for not being Asian enough.
Are you serious? But what is Asian enough?
Well,
like, that's what I don't understand.
This is what I mean. So I've grappled with this sense that there is, and I don't mean it to sound as kind of desperate as it's about to sound, but sometimes you feel like, oh, I'm not enough of anything. Like I'm not enough of anything for anyone else to feel like, oh yeah, he's the person. So
I definitely understand that.
And so with the industry, I've been very lucky that things have gone my way. But when I try and do stuff on my own, there's this fear of mine, which is like, no one on the internet is going to be bothered because they're not going to see me and them. But then that doesn't work because when I perform in front of audiences, even audiences that aren't my own, they really go for it.
I think the hard part is when you put something out there online, a lot of people will look at it and be like, oh, I can relate to that. That's great. And then they move on with their day. Yeah. It's the people that are like, fuck this guy. I can't relate to that. They're the ones that are going to message you and comment. And that's the thing, is like, very rarely do people leave kind comments because they just don't think about it. They're like, oh, haha, that made me laugh. That's great. I'll follow this guy. But it's the people that obviously you hit a nerve with, or that just don't like you for some reason, that are the ones that are going to give you the feedback. So it's easy to feel like you're failing when you're really not, when it comes to putting content out online.
Absolutely.
That's what I struggle with. Like, I, for the longest time, didn't put up clips. I didn't put things online because I was just like, someone's going to hate it. They're going to think I'm ugly, or they're going to, you know.
See, and much to a lot of my friends' annoyance, I love it when I get trolled.
I know you do. You engage way too much with trolls. I will say that. And that's something that might be fun now, but when you get to a level of fame that you have millions of followers, you cannot have time for that shit.
You're right.
Because then people will start trolling with you just to get reactions back.
Yeah. I do love it though.
I can tell. I've seen it happen. I've definitely spent many nights looking at your Twitter being like, what the fuck is he doing?
It's just fun.
Yeah, I get that. I stopped. I used to engage with trolls all the time too, and I kind of had to take a step back from that because I can't handle it. No. And then I would always take it too far. I'd be like, I'm going to find out where they live. I'm going to trace this motherfucking IP address. I'm going to try. And then I'm like, what am I going to do with this information? What am I going to do with this information?
Turn up and ask them to say it to your face.
Yeah, but then maybe in my mind, I'm like, what if it's like a love story? And then I show up and they're like, you're not the girl I thought you were. And I'm like, oh, he's just misunderstood. Yeah. And then it's like a Hallmark Christmas romance
and
movie.
Then obviously they're going to fall in love with you.
Exactly. And I can't have that. So I just can't engage with trolls.
How do you deal with having so many people in love with you at the same time?
Oh my God, stop it. Nobody's in love with me.
So many people are in love with you.
I have this weird thing about me where I simultaneously think everyone has a crush on me and everyone hates me. And I don't know how to explain that, but that's how I live my life. Like, I'll be like, everyone wants to fuck me. But then I'll be like, everyone hates me. Like, I don't know.
It's a great way to live.
Is it?
Yeah.
But how those two things can't be true.
Yeah, they can.
Unless people want to hate fuck me.
Of course. Yeah. Hate fucking is great. Hate fucking is hot.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
All right.
I think they can exist simultaneously.
So next time I get a troll, I'll be like, hey, want to fuck?
Yeah, you'll be
See
like,
what
hey,
they say.
just be like, listen, just tell me you want to fuck me. I get it.
I'm going to start. You should start responding to your trolls like that too.
Yeah.
Just for like a day and just see how it goes.
See what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's quite a nice way to live.
Thank you for asking me a question, by the way.
Oh,
I like that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do people not ask you questions?
No.
Why?
I don't know.
Well, I think it's important to ask questions.
Well, I like that.
See, this is why.
I feel like I do too much talking on this pod and I want my guests to talk more. So I appreciate that you took the liberty to ask a question.
Well, it was my absolute pleasure to ask you a question.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are you having a good time?
I'm having a great time. I love your company.
Oh, good. That makes me really happy.
I invited you to come watch a show with me. Do you remember when we went to watch Finn?
Yeah, that was really fun. I had a good time.
I'm a big fan of yours.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Because I asked you to open for you and you said no.
I didn't say no.
That's what I took from it.
What happened was you asked at a time when
I know. You had already booked openers.
I'd allocated all my slots.
That's fine.
But I'm charmed and humbled that you would want to open for me. And hopefully the next tour I have an opportunity, but by that point you'll be too big anyway.
And I won't be, but that's fine.
You will be. You're going to blow up on the internet. I'm telling you now.
So if you woke up tomorrow,
Yep.
your phone was blowing up, you had 1 million notifications, everyone being like, Ish, what the fuck did you do?
Oh.
Everyone hates you.
Yeah.
Is there something that comes to your mind as to why that would be?
Michelle, it's happened so many times.
Because you respond to trolls.
No, because I will say something online.
Okay.
And in the last year, I've upset the following communities.
Okay.
Black people, Muslims, and Jews.
Okay.
What a guy. I've upset all of them.
So you're used to that then?
And I'm a brown guy who's upset all of them.
Okay.
And I think it's a gift.
Love it.
And it's happened where I've probably said something, in response to your question, I've probably said something that is intended as a joke, or might even be actually maybe a bit of clever analysis because, behind all this stupidness, I'm an educated bloke and I've done some very serious jobs in my time. And before I started hanging out with comedians, I was hanging out with some of the brightest minds in society, right, who were shaping the world. So I knew how to rough it with them. If I'm giving a bit of analysis, the problem with a lot of comedians is because they've got a microphone, they seem to think that they are geopolitical analysts, financial analysts. They know everything about everything, and they fucking don't. And so,
I know nothing about anything.
and that's a lovely thing to admit, but enough comedians don't do that. I think they have too much of a sense of their own knowledge and expertise, and they don't. They're just emotional bastards. Anyway, so I have said stuff online or defended people, comedians included, just because I felt compelled to, and then a community will be upset with me.
Okay.
I got dropped from a corporate gig and 5 support slots a couple of weeks ago because apparently I was being anti-Semitic online, and I definitely wasn't.
And the person you were supposed to support, was it their choice to drop you? Or was it like a higher up issue?
A higher up issue. They kind of said, we'll pay you for the gigs, but it's probably better you don't turn up because it's so...
I mean, listen, you got the money. Like, honestly, who's really in the wrong there? Like, if somebody would just pay me not to do my gigs, fuck, I would retire.
I mean,
honestly.
Here's another thing. It was supposed to be a failure story, but yet again, Eshaan Akbar gives you a success story. Just non-stop.
I look at that as a success.
Yeah,
you didn't have to work. You got fucking paid for it.
I had a great week.
That's pretty great.
But yeah, so I have already had experience of that.
Okay.
And so it's usually I have said something that has been misconstrued, or I've said something to be funny.
And it wasn't taken that way.
It wasn't taken that
way. So if you woke up and everyone hated you, it would definitely, your mind would be like, oh, I said something on Twitter. That's where your mind, okay.
And then I'd laugh. And then I'd wait for the day to pass and say something else obnoxious the next day.
So anything you want to plug? Where can people find you?
Find me on social media at Michael Packentire.
Oh, I love that social media name. Love it.
And I've got lots of interesting projects coming up in the next year, so please do follow me because you're going to want to get in on this stuff.
And at the very least, you can watch him crumble online and watch a bunch of communities hate him because that seems to be something that keeps happening to you.
Hates me.
So either way, they can follow.
Yeah. You will
see
enough hate for me. Because I think a lot of people like me, but the people that hate me fucking hate me.
I've never met anyone that hates you.
I will give you a list of 5 names.
Love it. Are the people I know?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I would love that list.
They hate me.
I would love that list. And then I'll have them on the podcast and we can change that to everyone hates Eshaan. Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you so much for coming on. I hope this was a good time.
I had a great time. Thank you.
Do you have any advice to me as a new podcaster?
Whoa, I mean, I'm in no position to give you advice.
Thank you. That's the right answer.
This is why I should be a
I've
diplomat.
never asked to guess that.
See
I
that?
just thought I would.
See that diplomacy?
There you go.
That was good diplomacy, wasn't it?
Wow.
Straight in.
That's ambassador.
Don't you worry. I have feedback points.
You can be an ambassador to this podcast.
Thank you.
Thank
I love that.
Do you want to be that everyone hates you ambassador?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Oh, amazing.
Let's do it.
My dream come true,
Yay.
bro.
This is Everyone Hates Eshaan.
Woo.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was so fun.
It was really fun. I had really fun. Thank you.
Everyone hates you.